Very interesting cemetery here.
It is.
It speaks to the fact that there was such a large community here.
They were all small farmers living in this community.
So this is an old map. This gives you some idea of just how many houses were around here. And each one of these little black dots is a house. There's nothing but woods.
There is nothing but woods here, so.
I'm Robert, and this is Adventures into History. Today I'm at the old New Hope Cemetery in Harris County, Georgia, and I'm joined again by Mrs. Linda McCardle.
At the New Hope Methodist Church Cemetery. This church was built from two other churches, the old Ebenezer and Rehoboth Methodist churches. They banded together, and then they moved the old Rehoboth building up here, and that's where they started this church in 1847. In 1860, they built the New Hope Methodist Church, the new building, and they decided that they would use some of the old timbers from the old church, the old Rehoboth church they moved up here. The church fared until 1913. It was beginning to falter, and by in the 1950s, they just disbanded.
I wonder where the building was.
I have no idea. I've looked around. I've been here before and looked around, so I have no idea. It's just amazing to me that it just completely disappeared, but I thought we'd start with Alston Massey. Born in Halifax County, Virginia, he is a Revolutionary War soldier. He served under General Francis Marion in South Carolina, and after the war, he moved from South Carolina to Tweaks County in Macon. He lived near Macon. In 1815, he had debt. In November of that year, he lost a bay mare and 9 pigs. In December of that year, he lost everything. He lost 102.5 acres, all the furniture in his home, all his animals. So by 1830, I'm not sure what happened between 1815 and 18, but 1830, he's living here in Harris County. And he married first Emmeline Allen, and after she passed away, he married Elizabeth Gatewood. And he lived here in the community until in 1853, the paper said that he passed away. So I'm not sure of where he is buried. Like you said, this probably just was where they put his monument, but he did live in this community.
It'd be interesting to know exactly where his home place was, because in these woods that surround us, there are so many old chimneys and old home places. This church was in the heart of a thriving
farming community. This cemetery is full of farmers and Methodist ministers and a couple of doctors. I live in this area, and these names are all familiar. They're still here today, a lot of the descendants of this community. So,
it's Reverend James H. Callahan, born May 26, 1840, and died October 29th, 1915.
Reverend Callahan was a Civil War soldier. He enlisted in Company A in the Alabama Cavalry. I guess because this is so close to Alabama, a lot of the people that enlisted did go to Alabama. He married Mary Edna Rush. They have 2 children buried here, and she received a pension after his death. But she died very short. He died in 1915, and she received the pension in, I think, 1917, and then she died in 1919.
Blessed are the dead which die in the Lord, that they may rest from their labors, and their works do follow them.
He was minister here at this church. He served this church. All right, this is Beryl Jackson Rush. Reverend Jackson Rush enlisted in the 28th Alabama Cavalry as a private. He was older. Even in 1817, he was older. He was one of the charter members of this church, and he served this ministry. The Methodist preachers at this time, they would be here 2 years, and then they would go, also served other churches. He married Nancy Thomas Patillo, and her family's buried in here.
And she died in 1901. Such was her end, a calm release, no clinging to this mortal clod. She closed her eyes and stood in peace before a smiling God.
There's a lot of children buried in this cemetery.
Yeah, there's one right beside that we didn't look at. It's got I think this is kind of called a cradle grave. Mary Eliza, daughter of Reverend J.H. and Mrs. M.E. Callahan, November 26, 1868, September 13th, 1873. George W. Houston, born December 11th, 1802, died March 1st, 1886. And at the top it's got the scroll, with father.
They had 8 children. He married Anne Bean first, and then he married Sarah Blackman.
This is Nancy O. Ward, a wife of George W. Houston, born October 29th, 1830, died November 19th, 1866.
He had 4 wives, but she's the only one buried here. And he had 8 children, but he had 4 wives. Georgia is buried here, and another son, Thomas Ward Houston, is buried here.
We've got these concrete markers that are boxes, and they're stamped concrete, and these are always really hard to read. Son of J.H., I don't know what the last name is. Let's see if maybe this is, can't read that one either.
This is the Little family. I think there's like 3 generations buried here, so I was trying to see. The one born in 1794. Oh, Robert, they're all broken up, aren't they? This is the patriarch of the family, Jacob Little. He was born in November 21st, 1794. He died October 7th, 1863. He had 1 son, which is Reverend John Little, born January 5th, 1815, died June 18th, 1886. He was a Methodist minister, and he married Eliza Ann Krim. This is her.
Eliza A.J.C., wife of Reverend John Little, born March 13th, 1817, died April 13th, 1884. Her rest is sweet. Husband, in quotation marks down at the bottom.
Their daughter married Captain Nicholas. He died in Petersburg, Virginia. They sent a lot of their family to the war. But their son, he's buried in New Hope. He served in Company B, Georgia Infantry.
Warren Wade Little, October 24th, 1846 to August 15th, 1909.
His wife was India Williams.
January 6th, 1846 to March 16th, 1913.
And this is one of their sons.
Oscar W., son of W.W. and India Little, born August 16th, 1866, died June 23rd, 1884. Since thou canst no longer stay to cheer us with thy love, we hope to meet with thee again in your bright world above. Lonnie F., son of Alan and Emma Little, February 11th, 1878 to July 12th, 1879. And Lou Askin, January 6th, 1846 to November 5th, 1870, she married. She died November 5th, 1870 and married January 14th, 1868. Okay, got it right that time.
Do you think maybe because of all the woods around it, because I mean, that all these are so broken up, or it's been vandalized?
Maybe it was just not good quality marble. Because of all the small cracks in it. You see how it's just kind of just eroding away and has all these small little cracks in it. That looks more like it was just poor quality marble and has just kind of fallen apart over the years. But that being said, I was here years ago during a time that this cemetery was super overgrown, and there was a big tree limb that was down and had crushed a bunch of graves over there. Back here, I know there's a tree fall, has knocked over graves, and I think the families come here about once a year and clean this up.
We came in September, and it was very overgrown. There's a sign that says they clean up around Columbus Day. Yeah. So we came back, and it had been cleaned up, so, which is wonderful because so many have nobody to come and clean up. So.
Exactly. Here's another one that's in just pieces. John H. C. Little, born 1845, died 1863. She didn't live very long. This is a large monument here, Reverend D.M. How would you pronounce that last name? Poer?
Don't know. I don't know any Poors, but this family, there's like several generations buried here. And if we could find Jason Aaron is the patriarch of the family. I'm not sure whether it did say maybe there was no marker for him, but that he was buried here.
There's a little row of unmarked graves here, just marked only by fieldstone.
His wife is buried here too.
What was her name?
Nancy Ann Spencer. Duncan McLaurin Poor died January 13th, 1880. He was a Methodist minister here at the church, and he was the son of Jason Aaron Poor. And so I'm not sure where they are, but his mother and father were supposedly buried here. He married Elizabeth Patillo.
Mrs. Elizabeth, consort of Reverend D.M. Poor, a daughter of John and Mary Patillo, born May 16, 1817, died February 5th, 1859.
He married first Elizabeth, and when she passed away, he married Frances Elizabeth, and I could not find her maiden name.
She was born November 12, 1830, and died December 24, 1881.
Dr. Benjamin Gordon Poor, and he enlisted in Company D, the 4th Infantry, in 1861. He was captured at the Spotsylvania Courthouse and imprisoned in Fort Delaware, with paroled in February of 1865. And after he came home, I was thinking he must have seen so much. He enrolled at Emory and became a doctor. And he graduated in 1869, and he served this community until his death in 1914. And he married Fanny Shepherd.
She was born April 2nd, 1849, and died December 11th, 1926. Having finished life's duty, she now sweetly rests. And then these are more of those little concrete boxes, children's graves. Can't make anything out.
And that's the weather just beating them.
Yeah, these concrete markers just don't hold up. This is a daughter. It's a beautiful monument. It has a dove on top. It's Willie A., daughter of G.W. and L.A. Poor, died June 9th, 1885, aged 13 years, 2 months, and 21 days. John Patillo, born September 20th, 1792, and died November 30th, 1873.
He served in the Georgia militia in 1813 until 1815. And I'm sure this is probably his wife's grave. He married Mary Polly Winfield, and they had 12 children. And he enlisted he served for like 6 months in the Civil War. And when he resigned in 1864, he ran for judge of the inferior court, and he served 2 terms. And he was a farmer, but also a politician. So I thought that was so interesting that several of the people buried here were much older and enlisted in the war. But he didn't serve very long. I imagine it was too rough. He was the patriarch of the Patillo family, and there are a lot of them buried in here. His daughter married the Reverend Poor, so Nancy Patillo. And another daughter married a minister too, and I think they're buried in here too. So
it's a Reuben S. Patillo, born May 4th, 1839, died January 10th, 1913.
He also served in the Civil War. He was a private in the 3rd Regular Georgia Company D, and his first wife is buried at Union Baptist Church down the road. And this is his second wife, Laura Josephine Rowe.
Now she has an interesting terminology on her marker. I don't think I've ever seen before. Beautiful home life. Laura Josephine Rowe, wife of R.S. Patillo, born March 24th, 1843, died August 3rd, 1901.
And she is the granddaughter of Shadrach Rowe, who was a Revolutionary War soldier who's buried right down the road. So all the different connections. But those are pretty obelisks too. They have stood the test of time better than a lot of these. 2 of their children are buried here, they're babies. Walter, he was only 10 months old, and then they had a daughter named Maddie, and she was only 4. So, I'm not sure.
So this is Joseph DeWitt Clinton Davis. And he was a Mason. And this one is a marble box tomb, or false crypt, and the side piece has fallen out.
Now, he died in 1859, so he was very young, 1833 to 1859. They had he and his wife, Mary Ann Mullins, had one son.
George Washington DeWitt Clinton Davis.
He was born in 1859, he died in 1860, so he was only one. And then she remarried, and she's buried in Linwood Cemetery in Columbus. I know he was a Mason, but that's all I could find. I guess because he was so young, there's not a lot of records about him.
So this is John Leonard Briley, born January 2nd, 1895, and died July 30th, 1901. John Leonard Briley is actually connected to Dan Akin.
Yeah, that child was the son of my great-grandmother's brother, John Henry Briley. Uncle John Henry moved to Texas with all the rest of the family. My great-grandparents, or great-great-grandparents, came back. They didn't like Texas at all. They returned to Georgia. He came with them, and he settled in that area there where that child is buried. And, of course, the child came down with fever or something and died while they lived there. They later moved on to Meansville in Pike County, Georgia, and that's where they passed away and died later. They're all buried there in Pike County. Now, they're related to the James family in Meriwether County. Uncle John Henry Briley's wife was a James, related to the Striblings and some other people up in the southern part of Troup County.
Harriet J. McCree, wife of C.D. Phillips, born March 27th, 1834, died June 12th, 1912. A tender mother and faithful friend. She was ready to every good work. The cemetery has been cleaned up, as we talked about out there, and yet still somehow I managed to find briars out here. Everyone. It's J.M. Pratt, May 10th, 1863 to January 12th, 1921, a loving father and faithful friend. And Mary Ida Pratt, wife of J.M. Pratt Jr., February 15th, 1869 to December 20th, 1930. It's interesting to see, the junior's noted
there.
but not there, so we know he was a junior now from his wife's grave. This is W.L. Harwell, 1813 to 1896.
Okay, I've got some information on the Harwells. William J. Harwell was born 1813, died 1891. He married Anna Eliza Rivers. They had 13 children. They had a son named James. He was in the Civil War. He joined the Confederate Army. But if we could find his son Willie, I have a little interesting story about Willie.
Willie Arnold Harwell?
Yes.
February 28, 1844 to June 6, 1914. He was faithful to every duty. At the top it says, our father.
He was very young, but he and his brother joined Company D in the 4th Infantry as musicians. Oh, wow. And he was the drummer. Willie was the drummer. They were near Appomattox, and when the war ended, he was afraid that the Union Army would take his drum. So he buried it in Virginia, and then he couldn't go back to get it. And so they said throughout his whole life he would tell that story about how he lost his drum because he buried it, and he never got to go back to retrieve it. But they said it was many people that he recounted that story about that. So it must have broke his heart. And he talked about it had a gold rim, said he would just describe that drum incessantly. I'm not sure who's back there.
It's Sally F., wife of John A. Cochran.
That's the Blandon family back there. William Starks Blandon, I guess that would have been there. He married a Cameron. I think she was like the niece of James Cameron that was a Revolutionary War soldier.
And this is the Blanton grave that was knocked down by a tree.
And it's probably very recent because on Find a Grave, they were standing.
If enough pieces are here, everything could be epoxied back together.
Flora, her name was Flora Cameron, related to the Camerons from Long Cane Cemetery.
Wyatt S. Blanton.
Wyatt Starks Blanton.
September 27th, 1813 to October 26th, 1889. And I tell you what, just rolling that over, there ain't no just picking this up and setting it back up there. Maybe a couple people could, but you need a hoist for that. Anyway, I hate to see that. There's the tree that did it, actually right there. And there's more back here. This is Sarah A. Daniel, wife of George F. Daniel, born 1838 and died December 6, 1903. Over here is Martha, wife of Alexander Bass, born 1817, died 1894. So I wonder if this is 17, should be 13 and 20. So I wonder if this is a mother and daughter, maybe?
Okay, there's one right.
Yeah, there's one right behind here. With the, here's, I think this is gonna be George F. Daniel, November 28th, 1839 to September 29th, 1912. It's interesting how they're so close together. This is some of the most uneven ground I think I've ever been. So we're now looking for a specific grave for
Purnell Collins.
and we have a picture of it. And one thing that we know is he's not out there. So he must be over here. Maybe this is him right here. This is actually his daughter, Sally Collins, the wife of John A. Cochran. I just saw that on the internet, but I bet this is gonna be, Find a Grave showed it laying down and it was uncovered then, but now it's got this much pine straw. Yeah, Purnell G. Collins, born January, I think, 3rd, 1814. Died in the 1880s here. There he is. All right.
And somewhere in here is his wife, Martha Lett. But he operated the Collins Ferry on the Chattahoochee River. And on May 1st, 1875, a tornado crossed across the Chattahoochee, tore through this New Hope community. It took their house, and they only escaped, they had a cellar. They were in the cellar. So the next week, the 5th tornado in 6 weeks crossed directly over their house and took all the rest of their barns and all their outbuildings. So it leveled everything. And they said, but the newspaper article said that there was a mill running and they didn't hear the tornado coming overhead, and it hit the mill and it killed several people that were in the mill. Said everything just flew everywhere. So it was a really disastrous, but I just thought, 5 tornadoes in 6 weeks. No one in their family was killed, but several people around them died. And of course the people working in the mill.
Then this is his daughter, Sally F., wife of John A. Cochran, born December 20th, 1847, died June 30th, 1885. She didn't live very long. It says, rest on, sweetly dear Sally, with our 3 angel babes sleeping by your side, till the pearly gates are opened and heaven shall claim its own. At the bottom it says husband, so she's buried with 3 children. Wow. This is a zinc marker, the metal marker. It's called white bronze.
Okay, this is Jenkins Devane Williams. He was born January 1st, 1812 died February 17th, 1883. He was born in Greene County. He married Frances Elizabeth Birch. He was a Mason. He was a charter member of New Hope, so he was living here when New Hope founded. His daughter married a Little, the Captain Little. She's buried over there in the Little family. Owen W. Smith. He was born 1824. He was a minister and a farmer here. He also enlisted as a private in the 22nd Battalion, Georgia Cavalry. This is a family story. He came home from Lee's right when Atlanta campaign was starting, when they were moving forward, and he was afraid they would steal everything. So he came home for a few days, buried everything in the swamp behind their house, all their silver. And they said no one ever came to reclaim it. No one ever came to find it. But Wilson's Raiders did go right through this area. He was ordained into the Georgia Conference in 1861, so he served here. He also served at Whitesville and Sardis. So but like I said, they were almost like circuit riders. But because there were so many small churches, they would just 2 years speak here and then 2 years at another church. So they had an abundant supply of Methodist ministers in this area. Robert Carson Gaylor was born October 10th, 1815, died July 21st, 1897, and his wife was Martha Ransom, and he was born in Cannabis County, North Carolina. And even though he was also much older, he enlisted in the Company I, the 9th Regular Georgia Militia, at the age of 49. He served until April 1865. So he applied for a pension in 1897 as an indigent soldier. So I read it said they made no money the year before, they made no money this year, and he needed some help. So J.T. Dura was born April 30th, 1826. He died July the 11th, 1907. And he was in the same unit as my great-great-grandfather, Company H, the Russell Guards, 54th Georgia Infantry. He served, when they left Savannah, this unit stayed in Savannah until the Atlanta campaign. They ended up in Dalton, but he was a detail nurse at Bethesda Hospital in Savannah. So he stayed there, and after the war he came home. But it was interesting that all the rest of them got sent, but he stayed there probably because of the fact that he was a nurse in the hospital. He became the postmaster in Blandon, Alabama. But he did keep attending church here. And that is his daughter, and he had another son, James, that died when he was 9 months old. Maybe this is his wife. Louisa, yes.
So we're back in the woods now. Again, the cleaned cemetery is right behind us, but we're looking for Dr. Meadows' grave, and I think this is it. Yep.
Okay.
Dr. Benjamin Franklin Meadows, born May 31st, 1833, died December 15th, 1898.
98, yes. He joined the 3rd Georgia as a lieutenant, but then he became a surgeon and he transferred over to the 54th Alabama. But the interesting thing I found about him, in 1887, he was in the Mountain Hill area and he found a diamond. He said that was as large as one of his fingers. And the Columbus paper reported that they tested it, it cut glass, so it was a diamond. So then that started everybody on a frenzy around that area because there's a cave somewhere, imaginary or not, because this guy used to write about his name was Lum D, and he would write crazy stories about Mountain Hill. So people just started going everywhere trying. No one else ever found one, only Dr. Meadows.
Wow.
But he married Mary Jane Hargett first, and she passed away, and then he married Ellen White. So they're both buried in here, so maybe somewhere around here are their graves. But it wasn't just in the Harris County paper, it made the Columbus paper. Oh, wow.
So I wonder what happened to his diamond.
They didn't say.
Yeah.
Hopefully he had it made into a ring for his wife.
That's right. You know, there was a gold mine, too, the legend around here.
Yes, and that was also the Lum D that wrote all those stories.
Yeah.
There's the Mountain Hill area. It's like it's a tall hill,
Yeah.
right behind the Mountain Hill Baptist Church, because that's where the families lived. But there was a lot of stories about that area. Okay, now to get out.
All right, everybody. Well, with that last venture into the woods, that's going to conclude our exploration of the New Hope Cemetery. So big thank you to Mrs. Linda McCardle for all of her research and the tour of the cemetery. I've actually been here to the cemetery before with the other Robert, I think, years ago. And I want to say this might be my third time here. I remember we were looking at the graves because there are more graves in the woods. There's the grave of an infant in the back under that hardwood tree and some others out there. And then another time I remember there was a limb that had fallen and crushed some. So very interesting cemetery here.
It is.
And I think that it speaks to the fact that there was such a large community here, because around us today, it's nothing but woods. But back then, all these people lived.
They were all small farmers.
Yeah.
And living in this community.
So I hope you guys enjoyed at home. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.